Doppelganger, literally translated, double walker. Doppelgangers are not to be confused with dead ringers. A dead ringer is the living double of an individual. Two unrelated people who are very similar in appearance, but who lead very different lives, and in all likelihood have probably never met. The experience of running into your double, whose existence you were otherwise completely unaware of, would of course be rather breathtaking. But the fact is that every one of us probably has at least one lookalike out there, and in actuality, it's more likely that we each have several. After all, there are more than 7 billion people on this planet, and whilst there is an immense variety of features and characteristics amongst humans, those same features and characteristics can only arrange themselves in a finite number of ways, and so combinations of such will eventually repeat. There is nothing particularly strange about dead ringers. Interesting, yes, but in reality, they are nothing more than coincidence. Doppelgangers, on the other hand, are something else entirely. They are not other people, and they are not just similar to an individual in terms of appearance. They are exactly the same. A carbon copy. In fact, they are the person they are emulating, or at least a ghostly reflection of them. And you better hope that you never see your doppelganger, for it is considered an extremely ill omen, a sign of impending doom. There have been many people who apparently saw their own doppelgangers and died shortly afterwards. Perhaps the most famous case in history regarding these mysterious apparitions is that of Emily Sargay. Emily Sargay was a 32-year-old teacher from France. She had taught in many schools in her native country, but in 1845 she travelled to Latvia and began teaching at an exclusive girls' school called Pensionat von Neuelk. She was very popular with the students there, but the school board was somewhat concerned about her employment history. She had moved around quite a lot, having taught at 19 different schools over the course of 16 years. Good teachers were hard to come by, so naturally they feared that she would move on somewhere else at the earliest opportunity, and leave them with yet another vacancy to fill. However, just weeks after she commenced employment at the school, the answer as to why she couldn't stay in one place for too long would present itself in a shocking fashion, and it wouldn't take long for them to realise the unfortunate truth of the matter. As it turned out, no one would have her, for Emily was at the centre of some very strange goings-on, and although she never saw her doppelganger, everyone else did. The first time Emily's ghostly twin appeared, she was teaching a class of 13 students. She had her back to the room, writing on the chalkboard, when all of a sudden, another Emily appeared right beside her and mirrored her movements exactly. It seemed to have no unique awareness of its surroundings or of what was going on. Students described that it simply copied the real Emily, the same way a mirror image would, only not reversed. This instance was bewildering enough for those who witnessed it, but nobody would believe them. Not at first, anyway. The second time it happened, Emily was sitting in the school hall eating lunch. It was relatively empty at the time, but the few people who were present were alarmed to see the ghostly apparition blink into existence behind her yet again and start copying her movements as she ate. Whilst Emily was sitting down, the doppelganger stood. No food could be seen in its hands. Sergei herself was completely unaware of the doppelganger's presence, but she would often say that she felt tired and drained whenever it materialized. As time went on, the appearances became more frequent, and her ghostly double would begin to wander beyond her immediate vicinity. More importantly, it began to appear as though it had a mind of its own, as its actions and interactions would diverge away from those of Emily's. On another occasion, Emily asked a colleague to watch her class whilst she helped some of her other students with the gardening. At some point during the lesson, Emily walked back into the classroom and the standing teacher left. The students at their desks thought nothing of this until they looked out of the window and could see the real Emily still working in the garden. Her doppelganger simply sat in its seat, silent and watching. Although Emily confirmed that she had been outside the whole time, school officials documented in their notes that at the exact time of the sighting, she had wished she was indoors teaching her sewing class instead of working in the garden. A number of brave students did eventually find the courage to approach the apparition. They reported that when they reached out to touch it, their hands were met with a strange resistance. The air immediately surrounding the figure was like thick fabric. The doppelganger eventually became a permanent fixture at the school, but unfortunately for Emily, it had a habit of not only confusing people, but absolutely terrifying the students. A number of parents complained, and Miss Sergei was asked to leave. As fantastical as this case may sound, this phenomenon is not unique, and has in fact affected some of the most famous people in history. For instance, Abraham Lincoln was said to have seen his doppelganger shortly after being elected to his first term. He lay down on a couch one evening to rest, and just happened to glance over towards a mirror, when he saw not one, but two faces staring back at him. Whilst he was certain that both faces were his, the second one looked gaunt and deathly pale. Upon telling his wife, she became deeply troubled. She interpreted the vision as a premonition, stating that her husband would be elected president twice, but would die during his second term. Sure enough, Lincoln was assassinated shortly after being elected for the second time. Catherine the Great, the Russian Empress, was awoken one night in 1796 by worried servants, who reported that they had just seen her entering the throne room. This intrigued her, as she had not left her quarters since retiring for the evening more than 3 hours earlier. She decided to see this for herself, and upon entering the room, Catherine saw her doppelganger sitting calmly on the throne. She immediately ordered her sentries to shoot at the ghostly apparition, but their muskets had no effect. The doppelganger eventually faded from sight, and the Empress died shortly afterwards. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was a famous German writer, poet, and politician. On a summer's day in 1775, he happened to be riding along a path when he saw a mysterious stranger riding towards him. As they passed, Goethe was startled to discover that the other man was him, or at least someone who looked exactly like him, but they were wearing different clothes. 8 years later, he happened to be riding down the same path in the opposite direction, when he suddenly recalled that this is where he had seen his double. It was then that he realized he was wearing the exact same clothes as the mysterious stranger had all those years ago. There are many more cases involving doppelgangers, which unfortunately we don't have time to explore, but suffice to say that their appearance is not as rare as one may think. There are a multitude of high-profile cases involving celebrities and other well-known individuals that have been recorded throughout the ages, and there are also many everyday occurrences. You yourself may well have seen someone else's doppelganger, or even interacted with one, and not even realized it at the time. But the most pressing question is, of course, who or what are they? Unfortunately, there is no definitive answer. Doppelgangers are yet another phenomenon to add to the list of other unexplained phenomena witnessed throughout this strange and beautiful world. And just like any other unexplained phenomena, doppelgangers have been met with much speculation and indeed outright skepticism. Most prominent among theories is that these mysterious entities are astral projections, an embodiment of one's thoughts and wishes, which are so powerful that they manifest in the real world. This would certainly appear to correlate with the experiences surrounding Emily Sargay, whose doppelganger always seemed to act out exactly what she was thinking at the time. But could there be multiple explanations? Goethe's experience seemed to suggest a crossover of realities and timelines, and many people have reported similar occurrences, especially in recent times. The Mandela effect has been referenced as a possible culprit, with some individuals postulating that the appearance of these apparitions may be the result of quote-unquote glitches in the Matrix, or that we are seeing a glimpse of another reality altogether. Accounts vary regarding the level of interactivity with these beings. Some people report that they have been able to converse with their doppelganger, whilst others say that they seem to display no awareness of other people or their surroundings at all. In demonology, there are said to be certain parasitic spirits which can impersonate anyone, including their host. For this reason, others have suggested that some doppelgangers, especially those that display a level of intelligence and can interact with the world around them, might in fact be demons. On the other hand, they could also be the embodiment of one's higher self, here to guide and advise. The amount of cases where individuals have died shortly after seeing their doppelganger is more common than most, and there is in fact scientific research which may support this. A study on a number of test subjects found that when certain areas of the brain were stimulated, The participants felt an outward presence of themselves standing in the same room. It is theorized that natural stimulation of certain areas of the brain through injury, illness, or chemical imbalance could cause someone to hallucinate and see their doppelganger. These illnesses or injuries could then go on to cause the death of these individuals. Hence why the stigma surrounding the appearance of these apparitions exists. With so many accounts of doppelgangers recorded over the years, it is difficult to simply dismiss their existence altogether. Conversely, given that there are so many differences between these experiences regarding what the apparition did or did not do at the time of its manifestation, it is hard to pin down exactly what their nature or purpose is. In any case, when you go to brush your teeth before bedtime tonight, after you have rinsed your mouth out with cold water, and as you stand to look in the mirror a final time, you'd better hope you only see yourself staring back at you.